All right, welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Channel. We got Seth, CheckMate Flips, joining us again today. We're going to hang out for maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, and then we're going to hop on to his channel, hang out for a bit there. So if you're going to join us here, stay tuned, and I'll drop a link for his channel. Today, I want to ask Seth a few questions about a major transition he's done in his business this year, really over the summer, I think. And that's going from leveraging credit pretty heavy. Well, credit and I think a Amazon loan or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And Seth has decided to move away from leveraging debt to simplify it and into more of a cash basis for his business. But before we talk about that, I got a few questions for you, Seth, to prep you for Q4 and captchas, because it's that time of year we're gonna be hitting the checkouts hard for online arbitrage.
Yeah.
And so you got to be like, ready for the captchas so you can hit them fast.
Shoot, I can't use my mouse because this is a live stream.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got an easy one for you. You're a bit of an animal person. You've got a couple cats, right? You have a dog? No,
I have one cat that we dearly love.
One cat? Why? I mean, I thought you had a couple cats.
You would think so, but
I'm just not good at animals. You take pictures of the same one, and I think it's like 4 cats. That's why I'm bad at CAPTCHA. So we're looking for in these, dude, my camera. We're looking for cats.
Cat, found it. Oh, that's a dog.
Dude, that's definitely a dog. Dude, not a good start. It's gonna be a rough Q4 for you.
Oh man.
Okay. All right.
Cat. Wolf. Dog. This is so. I should just not use my VPN this Q4. Apparently, dog.
Yeah. Okay. So we're both in trouble.
Yeah. No VPNs for us.
Oh man, yeah. I've been hitting a lot of captchas with my VPN recently, and like I'm really bad at them. Starting to think I'm a robot. So I picked this game up from Walmart. Not sure why it was on clearance.
Who would have thought like a game
of
captchas wouldn't be popular?
It says right there, party game. I can picture myself with my. Well, you're my only friend, Seth. So I guess this is a party.
Oh, poor guy.
Okay, so back to the serious conversation. I have done a cash basis since the beginning, and I think that's kind of weird in this space. A lot of people like to leverage credit, some heavier than others, and I'm definitely on the minority side. And so it's interesting watching you transition from a heavy debt leverage to kind of closer to what I've been doing. Do you mind sharing some of your experience with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was completely cash based until probably November of last year. November of last year, kind of was hearing a lot of the people who were scaling pretty hard on Amazon and like learning about how you can use credit. I didn't even know that was really a thing. I mean, just learned about that, and I was starting to do eBay to Amazon more successfully. My purchases were going well. I was profitable. And so I kind of just realized, like I'm kind of rolling this with like 10 to 12K only. And so it's like, all right, how am I going to actually make like 5 to 10K profit with 10 to 12K? Like that's probably not going to happen unless I keep reinvesting my profits for probably years and paying myself as well if I had to pay myself. So I decided to start using a lot of credit at that point. And it wasn't like all or nothing from day one. It was first it was 10K, and then it was and then I used the Amex.
Sorry. I'm trying to share the link to my Instagram story.
I should do that as well, but Yeah, basically, I think I used a 10K 0% APR card, so didn't have to pay that off quick. And then
Okay.
I used the Amex Plum. The limits slowly went up, and then I used an Amazon loan. The Amazon loan was 54K, so that helped a lot. And I was also spending the complete limit of the Capital One Spark and not really even caring when the credit cycle was happening. So paying that one off was pretty hard because ideally, if you're going to use credit, you should at least like time out when you're going to spend your money. But I
Okay.
was just like, I need to get inventory in there. It's going to work out.
So for that one, you were carrying a bit of a balance, and I'm not a credit card guru. Were you getting some interest because of that, or was it one that wasn't going on?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, a lot of the time I was able to pay it off. There was like a month or two where I didn't pay it off. Um, but what I did pay for was payability. I probably spent like 4K on payability fees because I was
Mm.
using payability to make my cash flow better. But their fees are ridiculous, so I wouldn't suggest it.
So it was you were using the payability in order to.
Pay off the cards.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah.
you avoided the interest, but you kind of
Yeah.
paid for it through the payability.
Right.
Interesting. So from the beginning, you didn't really know that like using credit in that way was a avenue until you found a bunch of the social media guys talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I knew that businesses took on debt and stuff, but just didn't think about it in the Amazon space as much. I kind of just used my credit cards um, with what I had in the bank at that point before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you come into it having a pretty decent line of credit available, or was that something that when you decided you wanted to use credit, you started pursuing in order to get higher limits and stuff? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I didn't set myself well up at all because unfortunately, the first credit card that I used, I didn't know the difference between personal and business credit, and so the first card that I opened up to use was a personal 0% APR card,
Hmm.
and so I had a 10K limit on that, and I spent the whole 10K. And the point of that was to carry the balance, and so that lowered my utilization score, which lowered my limits and made it harder to get like approved for other cards. So that was a whole challenge as well.
Okay. So if you were going to go back to that point and you still wanted to use credit, would you recommend someone to use a personal card like you did, or go for, I guess the alternative would be some sort of business credit attached
Yeah.
to an LLC?
Yeah. Yeah. If you can set yourself up to have a business card, you're going to have better limits because it reports less to personal credit, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And
But this isn't necessarily like a how to do debt podcast. So
yeah. So to bring it back to the cash question there, like you've decided to move away from that equation that you were working on earlier this year, and I want to say it was like maybe May or June.
yeah, it
Uh,
was June.
June.
Yeah.
What were the couple big things that made you decide to do that? Because that's a pretty big decision in a business like this. Really impacts your capital and your cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the first part of 2022 was really profitable for the most part. Sales were really good. I had a lot invested into inventory that I wouldn't have had invested because I had credit. And so I was like, okay, like I've made really good profit this year. But it's basically all invested into inventory. And then in June, my account got hit with a couple counterfeit claims and IP claims, and my account went into the yellow. And so the previous fact combined with that fact made me think, okay, like if I get suspended, I'm literally going to have like 70 grand of debt to pay off because
Hmm.
these cards aren't going to just be like, oh, you got suspended. All right.
It's okay. It's okay,
It's all
Seth.
right. Yeah. I think I had the understanding, the wrong understanding that a business credit card, you can bankrupt your business in order to basically cancel the debt that you had. And in reality, do your own research on this, but what I found is most business credit cards are still personally guaranteed, which means that they're attached to your personal credit. That's how you got the business credit card. And so you're still on the hook regardless to pay that back. Like logically, that makes sense, like stepping back from it. Like, why would they put themselves on the hook to just have someone bankrupt a business? But I don't know. I just, for some reason, I think it almost felt like people who were talking about business credit were just like, yeah, you can just bankrupt and you're fine. I don't think anyone actually said that, but it was my interpretation of it for some reason. So yeah, I didn't want to like have made really good money and then just like suddenly get suspended and have like 70K of debt. Like that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. So you got a bit of a wake up call earlier this year with I guess you could say the cons to playing an Amazon sandbox.
Right.
You could be doing everything according to the terms of service, or quite honestly, I think if we all honestly sat down and read the terms of service, we're all breaking something somewhere. You're supposed to have, I believe in general, written authorization from each brand. Like nobody's got that, even wholesalers.
Yeah.
So we're all in this sandbox where we could, in theory, at any moment, get our account shut down. And when your account gets shut down, usually you lose your payouts, or at least if you're going to get those payouts, it's going to take a long time to get those back. And your inventory is locked up too. And the way that most people run a business like this, a lot of their cash is in inventory.
Yeah.
Or or it's sitting in the payouts waiting to come back to your bank account.
Right.
And so you'd lose both of those and you're like, well, shoot, 70 in debt. That's not something I could recover from easily. And yeah, that's a decent chunk of change. And when you, on the one hand, lose what is your livelihood in that moment, and then you also have this huge bill that's added on to your normal expenses, that's a precarious situation. So in actually going about making this switch, like how'd you do it? Like say there's someone who's thinking about the same thoughts that you had in June. Got any advice for them in how to tackle a big switch like this when you're leveraging pretty heavy and then want to stop doing that? Like it seems from my perspective, not having leveraged heavy, it kind of seems like trying to quit something you're addicted to.
Yeah. Sort of.
Because you're in this recurring system where it's kind of hard to get out of it.
Yeah, because it's like when you're scaling with credit, like I was doing more and more sales per month. I was making really good profit at that point. And so to not only not spend the same amount the next month, but be like the extreme approach that I took, and I was just like, all right, like I'm gonna spend like under 1,000 or 2,000 per month in order to cash flow back and pay off my debt. And so like obviously sales tank at that point. Like you're not going to maintain the 80K per month when you were leveraged for that inventory, when you're spending 1 or 2K per month for the next month. You know what I mean? So if you want to take the extreme approach, I mean, you literally just like stop buying inventory and you pay off your debt. And that'll probably take 1, 2, 3 months, potentially, depending on how fast your inventory sells and everything else there. If you do want to do it slowly and there's no like extreme time pressure along with it, you can just maintain your spend like at the exact same amount or just slightly lower than what you were doing before. Your sales will be similar to what they were before, and you just take all the excess and pay off your debt and start to use the profits that are in your business for your inventory. But like the way that I saw it was before November, like I was doing probably 15K in sales per month. And then I was doing on average between 50 and 100K in sales per month. My highest month was a little over 100K. And so like that was because of the extra money that I put into the business. That wasn't my money, but I also had profits in there. And so even if I leveled off to be doing 30 to 50K in sales per month with my own cash, that's still much more than I was doing in sales before, because the profits from before are still in the business. So if that makes sense, that makes the sting of like, oh, like I'm not doing the high sales that I was before. Like, of course I'm not. I don't have all that money invested.
Yeah, yes, you're looking at the perspective of there were some cons to leveraging that debt, but pros, like you are farther along in the capital you have available than you were back in November before that. So you did benefit from it in certain ways.
Yeah. It was I think it was a really good experience to build up capital in a decently fast way. I mean, in November, I was probably using 10 to 12K for my inventory, and now I'm using around 50K total. And so like, that's a lot more to work with than 10 or 12K. And the 50K is like all mine in the business, and I'm not like having to pay debt on it. So I think it was a beneficial thing, but it was a lot of risk. Like I would not have done that again if, like, let's say I had like a savings account of like 100K or 50K or something. In November, like net worth was probably under 5 to 10K. And so like if I had to like, that was kind of a good place to risk it all, if that makes sense. Because the reward was much higher than the risk.
I see. Okay. I've heard, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. I've heard some people say they have the cash somewhere. Maybe it's straight cash, or they've got it tied up in
like Vanguard.
Yeah, something like that. And so they have the cash to back up the debt they're taking on in the business. Like if things ended poorly, they could find a way to pay off that debt. From my perspective, I don't understand why, if you have the cash, you wouldn't just put that cash into the business. So that wasn't really a question, but if back in November you had 70K to back up this debt that you were considering taking on for the business, would you have taken the debt on, or would you have just put that 70K in?
That's a great question. I think mathematically on yeah, I mean, like on paper, if you have 70K that is making whatever 7% in the stock market, and then 70K that's also making money for you in Amazon, that is more money, but that also doesn't calculate in the risk of something going wrong with the S&P 500 or your stocks or something dumb happening with that. So I would probably just use the money and just put it into Amazon, or do like a split, like take 50K, put it in Amazon, take 20K and keep it in savings or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because
what are your thoughts on that?
I think it comes back to the risk that you want to accept. And one thing, what's up, Cody? Good to see you, man. One thing that I've thought about is, a year ago, when I was a little newer to the Amazon game, if I had 70K to put into OA products or whatever it might be, I would have made some really dumb decisions. Really dumb. Because looking back, I did make dumb decisions. And the only reason that they didn't destroy us or create health issues in our account um, was because the amount of money I was playing with was small. Um, and that, I think, for me at least, created a safer environment for me to learn and fail in. When I failed, I was losing hundreds of dollars, not thousands. So with that in perspective, I I appreciate my journey and how, as my knowledge has increased, my capital has increased. I didn't start as a beginner with 5 figures available to spend on stupid crap because I would have made stupid decisions. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are a lot smarter than me and maybe have ways to avoid those mistakes as a beginner. But I think there's probably more people that are like me in that as a beginner, it's probably dangerous to have that amount of capital available.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, for example, in last summer, I was sourcing at Trader Joe's and like I just didn't know what a variation listing was. And I'm like, oh, these 4-pack spices are just like so profitable. But like they were the zero review variation listings that I didn't even know about because I had just started RA. And if I had, like, I only bought a couple, thankfully, but like there are so many mistakes that you can make on Amazon. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I've done that a ton with the sales rank when I was doing a lot of retail arbitrage. I'd get something, it would be like rank number 10
Oh yeah, that's so
in
I hate that.
optical USBs that are the color purple. It was like, well, okay, nobody's
So
buying those to begin
stupid.
with. Even rank number 1 in that category has no sales. But
So
like,
freaking glitchy. I hate that.
yeah, I just didn't understand it at all. Echo Flip
Yeah, we should
says,
talk about this thought. What are your thoughts on this, Josiah?
yeah, that's a really good comment, Cody. Thanks for sharing. Investing in the S&P 500 is really dumb if you have a profitable business, in his opinion. And then that blue drippy face.
It's the
What? I haven't seen that one.
like
Okay.
the nervous ice face.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and I have thought about that a lot. With my different long-term wealth building goals, right? Like that's what most of us are seeking. um how long do I keep this money in the Amazon business, and if I want to take it out, where do I put it? Well, right now, as far as my investments go, Amazon's making me the most money. $1,000 in Amazon over the course of a year, with 50% ROI, you flip it, I don't know, 6 times that year, like that's gonna smash something like the S&P 500.
Oh yeah.
And same thing with a lot of other normal investments. And so for me, I've come to I think a similar place as what Cody is saying there. For me right now, the best place to put my money is in one of these businesses I have. I've got a Turo business. So I've been putting some money into cars, and those cars, get rented out. I've got, this Amazon thing and some other side projects that I have dreams of growing. Um, and so, yeah, right now it seems mathematically to make a ton of sense to keep that money invested in a business, because your rate of return on a business, if you're doing it right and you're doing it well, is gonna beat any sort of more passive stocks or things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. In my opinion, it's something that I've been debating a lot because if you just keep reinvesting into Amazon forever, you're continually always risking your entire net worth. And if something were to ever go wrong with it, you've just like worked for like 3 years and you're back at square one. So
Yeah.
there is a point where I feel like taking some money out of the business and putting it either into another profitable business or into almost like a checkpoint, like an S&P 500, is a good idea. For me, my main profitable business right now is Amazon. I'm investing into like an editor for video content, for social media content, and every once in a while, like I'll reinvest in education or something like that for myself. But yeah, it's always a debate for me, like how, like, should I even be paying myself? Cause like, I'm just trying to grow my net worth. So like, like what's the balance of that? So yeah, it's a hard balance for me.
Yeah, I agree with something you just said there, and that is like at some point you're gonna get to the scaling, the nirvana that you like to talk about, where
Reselling Nirvana.
you're gonna want to, and it's gonna make a lot of sense to start moving that money somewhere else. And so maybe that's the S&P 500 for you if you're at that point. Maybe it's some other stock kind of things. Maybe it's another business, and you're working on building up another stream of income for yourself, related pretty well to the Amazon business, but it's a social media, YouTube kind of angle. Yeah, so the hard part is knowing, like, when are you at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can always keep going for more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Cody. Awesome thought. I think we'll wrap it up here and hop over to Seth's channel. You got any last comments,
Yeah, dude.
Seth?
Thanks for having me on. This is we could keep talking a lot longer about this, and maybe we'll ditch my topic and keep talking about it. But we'll see you over there. We're gonna head to my channel, but yeah, this is a good discussion, and I always am just like, what do I do with my money?
Yeah, exactly. Here's the link. We'll be there in like 2 minutes, so come hang out. Like, comment, subscribe, and then head over to Seth's channel. And
if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you should go ahead and do it right now, because you're missing out. There's so much good stuff to listen to. So, and this guy is an absolute legend. He has been in the game for a long time. So definitely subscribe.
Man, you're hyping me up, Seth. Thanks. See you
Gotta
guys.
hype you up. See ya.